Galnet News Digest, 11th of February 3306. We read the news so you don't have to. In this week's news, the Blankest Blankness. Reread it. Dinner with the devs. LAIV Radio releases Commander Wotherspoon. The Blankest Blankness. After a little over 5 years of Galnet News bulletins, on Friday 14th of February, we're likely to see a momentous event, something that Commander Factabulous describes as the most exciting thing to happen this year. On the 14th of February, the only 2 Galnet articles published this year will be more than a month old, and will consequently no longer appear as news on the Galnet page in the right panel or in station services. There will be no articles for Amy the Galnet newsreader to read. The automated Thargoid and Powerplay reports will continue to tick over, but the Galnet journalists will have done nothing, absolutely nothing, for a whole month. Not one word of news or comment about the galaxy for an entire month. Have they explained the apparent lies about the Thargoids leaving the Pleiades? They have not. Have they explained why Thargoids can now only be found much closer to Merope than previously? They have not. Have they explained why Thargoid incursions have just in the past 2 weeks become dramatically more difficult to fight off? And why the Thargoid incursions now continue for more than a week? They have not. Have they explained the changes to supply and demand for rare mined minerals, or that there appear to be some inconsistencies about the price offered for rare minerals? They have not. Have they explained anything about any subject at all to anyone? They have not. The entire complement of Galnet journalists has spent the whole of the last 4 weeks locked in a room at Hutton Orbital, ostensibly writing news stories about all the interstellar initiatives that are filling the inhabited bubble with interest, and planning coverage of the major news events that are anticipated at the end of 3306, but actually they have been drinking themselves under the table with bottle after bottle of Centauri Mega Gin, and singing lewd songs about Aisling Duval's Blue Merkin. Meanwhile, Galnet management have been preparing the case to close down Galnet permanently, arguing that they have the figures to prove that commanders don't read Galnet anymore. Reread it. News stories on Reddit this week, courtesy of Stuart GT. Following on from the success of the Asps in Front of Things photojournalism series, Reddit is now proud to present Asps Behind Things, where the view remains totally unspoiled by ugly-looking ships that look like an elephant stood on them. And following on from the after mining void opals for 30 minutes, I can finally afford a Federal Corvette, we now have, after fighting the Thargoids for a week and living through 253 rebuys, I can finally afford a Sidewinder. Please upvote. Dinner with the devs. The Pilots Federation is holding an auction for the very worthwhile charity Special Effect, an organisation well known for its large and friendly exclamation mark. Amongst the items on offer are a zoo-themed Winciette nightgown and pillow set, a bag full of dinosaur bones, a Planet Coaster custom sick bag, and, most excitingly of all, Dinner with the Developers, a prize clearly placed to create the impression that there are still developers working at the Pilots Federation, all appearances to the contrary notwithstanding. Whoever wins the prize will suffer a little accident at the hands of dastardly Don Antonacci's fixers, and will therefore be unable to reveal the truth. LAIV Radio releases Commander Wotherspoon. Members of the LAIV Radio crew are reported to have released Commander Wotherspoon following his abduction by Commander Phoenix Defar, the paramilitary wing of the podcast. Charged with asserting that the Loose Screws podcast is better than LAIV Radio, Commander Wotherspoon is believed to have been chained to a radiator and forced to play the Elite Miniatures game until he agreed to sign a retraction. Following his re-education, he freely acknowledges that LAIV Radio easily wins the category of Best Space Sim Podcast, with a regular segment about bathroom renovations. For clarity then, LAIV Radio is the best show this side of DSO no matter what side of DSO you're on. Loose Screws is the best American Elite Dangerous podcast, and Guard Frequency is the best damned space sim podcast ever. Elitacast is the best Spanish language Elite Dangerous podcast, and Sagittarius Eye is the best Elite Dangerous podcast published quarterly. And Radio Sidewinder is the best podcast that hasn't had an episode published for more than 2 years. And that is this week's Galnet News. Galnet News. We read the news so you don't have to.